Imagine waking up to the roar of an engine tearing through your private property, day after day, like your land is nothing more than a public highway. That's exactly what happened to Jack Harlan, a battle-hardened retired Army veteran, and his wife, Emily, who was fighting a brutal battle against advanced ovarian cancer. After years of city chaos and endless hospital visits, they packed up everything and bought a sprawling 200-acre ranch deep in rural central Texas. Their dream? A quiet life surrounded by wide-open fields, grazing horses, and a special wildflower meadow they turned into a haven for monarch butterflies. Emily had always loved butterflies. She called them symbols of hope and transformation, and planting milkweed and nectar flowers gave her something beautiful to focus on amid the chemo treatments. The ranch was their sanctuary, far from the nearest subdivision, with a sturdy iron gate marking the entrance to their long gravel driveway. But peace didn't last long. Next door, a mile down the road, sat Willow Creek Estates, a gated community full of manicured lawns and cookie-cutter homes. Running the HOA with an iron grip was Evelyn Thorne, a self-appointed queen bee who strutted around in designer sunglasses and a gleaming white Escalade. Evelyn decided that the quickest way to access an old community well pump on the edge of the ranch was straight through Jack's property. She claimed some ancient neighborhood right allowed it, ignoring the private property, no trespassing signs Jack had posted. At first, it was just her zooming through the gate a couple times a week, kicking up dust that settled on Emily's delicate flower beds and spooking the horses into stampeding across the pastures. Jack confronted her politely the first time, standing at the gate with his arms crossed. "Ma'am, this is private land. You need to go around." Evelyn just smirked, revved her engine, and drove right past him, shouting something about community needs. Soon it became daily. She'd barrel through, sometimes with HOA maintenance trucks trailing behind, flattening sections of the wildflower meadow and leaving tire tracks that crushed dozens of blooming plants. Emily would sit on the porch, watching helplessly as butterflies scattered in panic. The stress wasn't helping her recovery. Her doctors warned that any upset could set her back. Jack tried calling the sheriff, but without hard proof, it was her word against his. Evelyn's entitlement grew bolder. She started advertising exclusive scenic ranch drives on the neighborhood app, charging residents $50 a head for guided tours through what she called our shared historic lands. Groups of SUVs would follow her convoy, honking and laughing as they cut across Jack's fields, scattering cattle and even stopping to picnic near the butterfly garden. One day, a tourist's kid trampled a whole patch of milkweed, destroying caterpillars Emily had been nurturing for weeks. That was the breaking point for Jack. He wasn't about to let this woman destroy the one place his wife could find joy. Drawing on his military training in surveillance and tactics, Jack set up hidden trail cameras around the gate and along the driveway. Over the next month, he captured hundreds of clips. Evelyn's Escalade leading parades of vehicles, timestamps showing dozens of unauthorized entries. He logged 52 incidents in just 4 weeks, clear evidence of repeated trespassing. When he showed the footage to the local deputy, things finally started moving, but Evelyn doubled down. She filed paperwork claiming a prescriptive easement, insisting the HOA had used the path for decades. Suddenly, Jack got calls from his bank. His home equity line was frozen pending property disputes. His insurance company threatened to drop coverage over liability risks. Jack didn't back down. He hired a licensed land surveyor to map every inch of the boundaries. The results were explosive. Not only was there no valid easement on his land, but the HOA's water supply line, which Evelyn swore justified her shortcuts, illegally snaked under Jack's ranch and 2 neighboring properties without permission. Digging deeper into county records, Jack uncovered that the original utility agreement had lapsed back in the late 80s. Over 30 years ago, Evelyn had been maintaining the fiction with altered documents, collecting inflated water maintenance fees from hundreds of homeowners for years. Estimates suggested she'd pocketed well over $1 million in bogus charges, funneling some into personal accounts. The real bombshell came from an unexpected source. Evelyn's own husband, Robert, a quiet accountant who'd grown tired of her schemes. One evening, He showed up at Jack's door with a flash drive containing scanned originals of the expired agreements and side-by-side comparisons showing Evelyn's forgeries, dates changed, signatures faked. Robert confessed she'd been doctoring records to cover unauthorized expansions and pocketing the extras. "She's gone too far," he muttered. "I can't watch her ruin lives anymore." Armed with this, Jack compiled an airtight dossier, videos, survey maps, forged documents. He forwarded everything to county officials, the state attorney general, and even tipped off federal authorities about potential mail and wire fraud from the fake fees sent through the postal system and online payments. But Jack knew evidence alone might take months. He needed to protect his home now. Using his engineering know-how from building forward operating bases overseas, he designed and installed a set of heavy-duty retractable steel bollards right inside the gate-thick hydraulic posts that could rise silently from the ground, strong enough to halt a tank. They blended into the landscape when lowered, invisible to approaching vehicles. Evelyn, oblivious to the storm brewing, escalated one final time. She rallied the neighborhood with fiery emails about defending our water rights against the greedy outsider. She organized a big protest convoy, promising to reclaim access by force if needed, even hinting at removing any obstructions themselves. The day of reckoning arrived on a crisp fall morning, when county inspectors were scheduled to examine the disputed water line. Evelyn, ever the showwoman, decided to livestream the whole thing on the HOA's social media page, titled "Standing Up for Our Community." She led the charge in her Escalade, followed by a dozen resident vehicles, horns blaring as they approached Jack's gate. "We're just exercising our rights," she declared to the camera, waving a stack of her phony papers. The gate was open. Jack had left it that way on purpose, knowing what was coming. As Evelyn accelerated through, smirking triumphantly, Jack, watching remotely from his barn on a monitor linked to the cameras, triggered the system. With a deep mechanical hum, the steel bollards shot up from the ground in seconds, slamming into the undercarriage of her SUV. Tires spun uselessly as the vehicle lurched to a halt, front end lifted, metal groaning in protest. The luxury Escalade was pinned, immobilized, smoke wisping from the engine bay. Panic erupted behind her. The convoy screeched to stops, residents piling out in confusion. Evelyn screamed into her phone, still streaming, demanding someone fix this vandalism immediately. But it was too late. Unmarked vehicles that had been parked discreetly down the road pulled up. Federal agents in windbreakers marked FBI. They'd been coordinating with local law enforcement after Jack's detailed report flagged interstate fraud elements. Agents approached calmly, badges out. "Evelyn Thorne, you're under arrest for wire fraud, mail fraud, forgery of official documents, and conspiracy." She went pale, dropping her phone as the live feed captured every moment, her ranting turning to stunned silence as cuffs clicked on her wrists. Viewers online exploded. The stream went viral, racking up thousands of views in minutes as neighbors watched their HOA tyrant taken down in real time. Back at the ranch, Jack stood with Emily on the porch, her arm linked through his. The butterfly meadow was blooming vibrantly that day, monarchs fluttering undisturbed. The remaining convoy dispersed quietly, no one daring to challenge the bollards still raised like sentinels. Robert Thorne later confirmed more details in interviews, leading to audits that uncovered even deeper mismanagement. The HOA dissolved its fraudulent fees, refunded homeowners, and elected a new, reasonable board. Charges stuck. Evelyn faced years in prison. Her empire of control crumbled by her own greed. Jack never gloated publicly. He just reinforced the gate, added more wildflowers, and focused on Emily's recovery. She beat the cancer that year, crediting the peace of their unchallenged sanctuary. And whenever a butterfly landed nearby, they'd smile, knowing some battles are won not with force, but with unbreakable resolve. In the end, the ranch remained theirs, quiet, private, and free from entitled intruders forever.